I'm here with Geoff Eales, pianist and composer extraordinaire. Geoff is one of my favourite musicians. I say musicians because Geoff leads, writes, plays in many different bands, playing original compositions, which in my humble opinion is boundless, because it just doesn't go into any category. I don't like using kind of these tight categories of jazz, classical, free improv. It's just great music, and I think boundless is the right word to describe your music, because it just goes across everything.
I hope so. I just love it all.
Yeah.
In fact, I wrote this piece. Well, actually, I didn't write it. I just improvised a piece called Boundless, and it's on my CD called Epicenter. It's on the piano album, as it happens.
Oh,
so
right.
It's pretty opposite, isn't it?
I'll have to dig that one up.
You can have a copy.
Oh, brilliant. I have many Geoff CDs.
Boundless. Yeah. You have boundless amounts of us.
Yes, Geoff, as I said, leads many and writes for many different kind of ensembles, all original music. One of my favourite is Master of the Game, his contemporary jazz trio, written a few years ago, released on the Edition label. It's one of my favourite CDs and features many different pieces, kind of drawing from, as I said, different influences, and there's a dedication there to Esbjorn Svensson.
Esbjorn Svensson, who tragically died in 2008.
Yes.
Lacrimosa.
And it's just a very interesting album, because I mean it's jazz, but it's not, and it's just good music.
I hope so.
Which is what I think we all aim for, and I think you achieve greatly with your music.
Thank you.
There's another CD which you should also definitely check out in the more classical idiom is Reflections by Elf Trio, with the great Andy Finden.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, and French Horn and Dave Lee.
Yeah, Elf, which stands for Eales, Lee and Finden.
And we'll be talking about probably Andy, because Andy is a brilliant flautist, saxophonist, multi-instrumentalist. And lastly is Geoff's pretty recent CD called Geoff Eales and Aethorisms, one of my favourite CDs, and
Shifting Sounds.
Shifting Sounds. It's just, yeah, as it says, it just shifts across different. It's a fusion kind of band, and it's electric. It just kind of bounds
the time signatures shift quite a lot, and also the emotional element shifts a lot, and it's kind of an album for the times, I think. You know, with all what's happening in the Middle East.
Yeah, and it features many great players, as I said, such as Ben Waghorn, monster saxophone player. I've heard quite a few. Carl shredding away on the guitar, just impossible crazy lines, which I just love. Fred T. Baker kind of anchoring it all, and then Acid Circus.
Amazing.
And there's some violin on there as
Chris
well, from Chris there, which is amazing. And it's
very much Mahavishnu.
Yeah, and Jean-Luc Ponty,
and Jerry Goodman.
Yeah, which is just brilliant. So Geoff's music in general is just something just worth checking out, because it all varies and it's just eclectic is what I'll use. I'm interviewing Geoff here because he's very kindly written or arranged a brand new arrangement of a piece called Song for My Mother for me, which I'll be performing at the World Sax Congress, which I'm very much looking forward to performing at. And it's a great arrangement from a great piece, which is featured on many of your CDs, and it's quite interesting to see how you approach changing it and making it to the tenor, because I think it suits tenor very, very well. I first heard it on Master of the Game, and as soon as I heard it, I just knew that I wanted at some point to have that arranged for tenor saxophone, because I just knew it would work, that kind of vocal, beautiful kind of sense it has. But we'll probably talk about that later, but I think we'll start talking about you and your music, because that's far more interesting, and see how that informed what we will talk about later. What are your first musical experiences that you remember, and how did you get introduced to it all, and what happened?
The first thing I remember was playing the 12-bar blues when I was about 7 or 8 years old, and my father actually taught me the 12-bar blues, because, well, he loved the blues and he loved jazz, and he used to play in a dance band in the South Wales Valleys called the Nyron Thomas dance band, or dance orchestra. And I think Nyron Thomas, I think he died recently. I think he was about 101 or something. so there we go. That was my first experience. Was jazz, and
it just took off from there.
I took to jazz like a duck to water, really. I mean, it seemed to be in my blood. But soon after, I mean, my mother, she wasn't a great fan of jazz. In fact, she hated it.
I think mothers and jazz is a theme that's cropped up before with the James Hewitt.
Nothing, aren't they? Mothers and jazz. So she used to take me to the opera. When I was a young lad in short trousers. I remember going to the new theatre in Cardiff to see Verdi and Puccini operas. So that was definitely no rock and roll. It wasn't rock and roll or jazz. But at the same time, my father took me to see Count Basie in the Capitol Cinema in Cardiff when I was about 10 years of age. That was an incredible experience, and that sort of got my sort of heart pounding and sort of veered me towards the jazz area as well. So ever since, my career's kind of gone in two directions: the jazz and the classical. Keeping the two parents happy.
And I mean, the classical is also deep within your training, because Geoff studied music in Wales, undergraduate to postgraduate, up to PhD, where you looked in depth at the music of Aaron Copland, which I could kind of hear in your music, kind of this light, kind of very structured, but also kind of very pastoral and kind of boundless. Kind of music.
With its open chords and things like conjuring up the American prairie. But there's another aspect to Copland's music, which is very Stravinsky and very epigrammatic and quite austere. And you know, there's a couple of compositions he wrote which are in 12-note music.
Yes.
Very sort of Schoenbergian. There's a piece called Inscape and a piece called Connotations. Very different to Rodeo and Appalachian Spring.
Yes.
So he was pretty eclectic as well.
Yes.
You know? So I'm really sort of fond of people who are very eclectic.
Yeah.
People are messy on that.
Yes. I think that's the key. Also to saxophone music, just as us embracing this kind of other influences, and I think you do that especially well with your music anyway.
I hope so. There's only two types of music, that's good and bad.
Oh, exactly. And I think that's something...
and the less said about country western, the better.
What was your first experience of the saxophone? That's quite interesting to me, just how people perceive the instrument. It doesn't matter if it's jazz or classical.
No, the first perception of the saxophone. Well, obviously I heard about 5 saxes with the Count Basie band when I was 10 years of age. That was really, really exciting. I was knocked out with the drummer as well. Throwing his sticks 20 feet up into the air. Sonny Payne, I think it was, Sonny Payne. But anyway, as far as the sax is concerned, I always considered the saxophone a jazz instrument. Of course, there's a nice sax player in Ravel's Bolero.
Oh yes. I mean, well,
so obviously I thought, but it can play classical music as well.
Well, we actually do. The saxophone is actually a classical instrument.
It is a classical music.
Originally, it kind of got
I stand.
It got exported to America. Hasn't looked back since. Okay.
That's right.
But I think classical saxophone is slowly catching up, and we're kind of embracing all the other.
Yeah, there's some great exponents of classical saxophone.
Oh yes.
Simon Aaron.
Yes.
Andy Findon, Andy Scott was. Who does it all? Who does it all? You know. Jazz sax, funk sax, classical sax.
Same for Rob Buckland in this country, and there's so many players like Arno Blomkamp in Holland is also very much a kind of leading exponent of the modern saxophone. I think I use modern because I don't like using the word classical. It puts up all these walls and people switch off.
I hate walls. Knock the walls down.
I will be performing at the World Sax Congress in July at St Andrews, which I'm very much looking forward to. And Geoff has very kindly arranged one of his older pieces called Song for My Mother, especially for me, for tenor saxophone in mind, from a previous work, and it suits saxophone very well. It's just a piece that I love when I've heard it in its various forms on the Elf album, on Master of the Games. It's just something that...
And the other one was Red Letter Days, I think.
Yes, it's on that one as well.
Yeah, 11 years ago.
And it's one of the pieces that you can just tell it's, as we say, it doesn't bound by a specific genre.
Boundless.
Yeah.
No.
And it just suits saxophone to me, and I was quite interested when I asked you to arrange it to me, because obviously it hadn't something that occurred to you. Because well, for saxophone, it's something that doesn't occur for many people classical-wise, unfortunately. But when I gave you this kind of task to say, I mean, what did you think about the instrument in that sense, and how to do it? Because that's quite interesting, I think, just how people approach writing or arranging for saxophone.
I just thought that it should be very simple and very melodic, very kind of minimalistic. But what I did actually was had sort of inverted commas classical saxophone player in mind, but I actually wrote some chord symbols various points. So if there was a saxophone player who was actually more geared towards jazz, then he could improvise on the chords. So it kind of suits everybody and anybody. Really. But I think it's important to bring the melodic aspect out of it. So it shouldn't be leaping about in flights of incredible improvisation all over the place. I think it should be quite contained.
Yes.
And I thought that was a discipline for me to write something very, very simple. But it actually, the melody is very simple.
Yeah.
So I, a head start.
Yeah.
So I kind of fell off the pen really.
And I think I personally thought it would have suited tenor saxophone very well. That's why I asked for it, because I'm a tenor player. But I mean, what were your initial thoughts? I mean, had someone said, "Can you arrange this for saxophone?" Would you have gone for tenor?
Well,
do you think, or?
Yeah, well, actually, we do play this piece when in my various groups, which is quartet or quintet when we got the guitar. That excellent sax player we mentioned, Ben Waghorn, is in my quartet as well as the quintet. And he sort of improvises on the tune, but it's sort of very, very free. It's basically a piano feature, but he does improvise. But I decided to, in fact, with discussions with your kind self, we decided maybe it should be in a different key, and a nice warm, rich key, a little bit lower, because otherwise it can get strained, a little bit strained, it gets a bit high. So I think the key that I've chosen, which is F, going into A flat, in the middle section, seems to suit you very, very well. So sometimes you have to adapt things to a particular instrument, and I think that suits the range of the saxophone very well.
Yeah, well, that's brilliant.
It seems to work out well.
And where did the original version, where did that come from? You're kind of thinking about it, or the influences, or
the thinking of it was, I mentioned earlier, about the fact that my mother sort of hates jazz, or has a distinct dislike for it at least. And so I thought I'd write a piece for her, which was very melodic and not too jazzy. She also loves Bach, so the sequence, I suppose. Sometimes in my concerts, I just I play a game and do a few little Bach quotes, and I tend to get the fugue number 5 from the first book of the Well-Tempered Harriet, and it actually works perfectly in one part of the tune. So this bits sequence is a little bit Bachian, but also one could say that there's an element of pop music as well. So a big pop ballad. You can imagine well, not anymore, the poor deceased Whitney Houston, but there's that kind of Celine Dion or Barbara Streisand actually singing a tune like that. So basically it can be seen on various different levels. So it's is it fish or fowl? Who cares, as long as it's good music?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, and it just struck me immediately as a great piece of music, and not a jazz piece, not a classical piece,
just a piece of music.
Just a piece of music, and I think that's really important to us saxophone players, just being able to embrace music from different genres, and kind of as we try and create our own new voice, because I mean the instrument's only 160 years old, unlike you lucky piano players with this great heritage of Bach, Beethoven, Bartok from. You have this tradition to fall upon, and I think that's what we're building on, and we're quite lucky in that space to be around now, to be able to draw on these different tastes in music.
And there's incredible players coming out of colleges now.
Yes.
But anyway, the whole impetus of the piece was to pay tribute to my mother, who doesn't like jazz. So hopefully I'll be successful, and it's sort of, hopefully very melodic.
Well, I'll be giving the world premiere of that, as I said, at the World Saxophone Congress in July at St Andrews. I'll be very much looking forward to seeing you there. and I think I'll be ending my programme on that, I think.
Okay.
I'm writing a piece myself, and I'm having a piece commissioned by Cheryl Francis Hode, who is an amazing classical composer. He's won the 2 British Composer Awards last year. And then we'll end on this brilliant piece, which we've had a quick run through already, just to see, and went very well. And I can't wait to get practicing and get playing with my pianist, so we can really do it justice. I think, because I think it's just, it speaks of you basically, a kind of flamboyant energy, but also just restrained and just great music.
Flamboyantly restrained.
Yeah.
How you can shift from one emotion to another in the space of half a second.
Exactly. I mean,
that's what it's all about, the variety, and music should be the whole world, as Mahler
definitely.
said.
And I think,
world.
Your voice is definitely a very fresh voice, and I think something that we should hopefully hear more of in the classical world, and I think we will be in the future, with your projects with Andy and Simon, and hopefully Andy Scott as well. So
hopefully,
yeah.
Or if not Andy, maybe as
maybe himself. yes, please. And hopefully maybe we'll be seeing the Geoff Eales band instead of the Michael Nyman band, a similar kind of form. I think that would work very well with lots of kind of classical minimalist arrangements of your music.
Great.
And so please keep checking the blog, and I'll be placing a profile on my website about Geoff with a full biography and some pictures and a discography of recommended recordings and CDs. And just keep an eye out for Geoff and his music. He's constantly touring, and I hope to see you at the World Saxophone Congress in July. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Matt.
Thank you, Geoff. It's been a great day.
It's been a privilege,
Thank you.